Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another tropical update here by Adrian Weather Forecast. And boy, oh boy, do we have a lot of big updates for now. Potential tropical cyclone 5, which has become a PTC earlier today. I mean, we have a lot to talk about with this potential Elsa storm. Not only are we mentioning tropical storm, but as well even hurricane possible, and even posing a threat for a portion of the Caribbean and United States. So definitely watching out for a lot. We have a lot of updates as well, even a cone from the National Hurricane Center, as well as tropical storm watches have been issued for portions of the Windward Islands. So we have a lot of information, overall new data as the 18Z runs are coming. So if you think you can get affected by this, I would recommend you guys watch this video. I'm going to be having a lot more uploads on this potential threat for the Western Atlantic. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get a look at the update. So right now, obviously, we no longer have Invest 97L. It is now a potential tropical cyclone as it's going to be affecting the land within the next 48 hours and poses a threat of being a tropical storm. This thing's moving west-northwest at 21 miles an hour or 18 knots. So the only limiting factor about this is how it's moving so quickly. For those who remember Isaias from last year, it took a while for Isaias to get its act together because it was moving so darn quickly in its exact basically region. So the fact that it's moving 21 miles an hour west-northwestward, that's the only thing that can limit its growth or its potential. But at this point, it's still got a very favorable atmosphere, and it's still looking pretty good convection-wise. So although it's moving very quickly, this PTC is looking very, very good. It's sitting here at 35 miles an hour maximum sustained winds, and actually we did have a gust up to 45 miles an hour. As well, minimal center pressure is at 1,008 millibars, and formation for the next 48 hours is a 70%, and the formation for the next 5 days is a 90%. So definitely a lot of big updates for this PTC. Likely to be a depression very, very soon, as well, even watching out for this become a storm by tomorrow, and then posing a threat for the Windward Islands and even for portions of Hispaniola, Cuba, Jamaica, and even portions of the Gulf Coast in southeast United States. So boy, this is going to be our first real interesting storm of the year. Let's now go and get a look here at the latest look on the convection forecast on IR, and boy, does this thing look very, very good compared to what it looked like earlier today and even just a few hours ago. We have a ton of convection up to negative 80 degrees Celsius cloud tops popping up within the portions of the western quadrant of this low pressure. So it's looking very good at this point. It's exactly why it is a PTC. It still needs a lot more structure, and although it does not have the winds yet, so obviously this is still not tropical at the moment, but it's likely to most likely be a tropical depression very, very soon. Most likely by the 8 o'clock update. And right now, obviously, we still have around an hour until that comes out. So by the time my video comes out, the 8 o'clock advisory may have come out because it comes out maybe 30 minutes early. So I'm going to be definitely keeping an eye on the potential 8 p.m. advisory. But at this point, this is looking like it could very well be maybe a depression within the next 2 hours. I mean, it's looking very, very good. It already has 35 miles an hour. And we may even expect Elsa by maybe even the 8 a.m. update or possibly even once again the 2 p.m. update tomorrow. So this will be the earliest E-storm ever, and it just missed out on being the first E ever in July. It just missed it, so it may form on July 1st, which will be absolutely just so darn close to being the first E ever in June. Sorry, not July. It'll be the first E ever in June. I think I actually said July, but June. Sorry, June. We're not even in July yet. But, I mean, this thing is definitely either way going to break a record for being the earliest E no matter what. I mean, we're seeing negative 80 degrees Celsius cloud top, so we are seeing signs of lightning and overall just really good strengthening thunderstorms, which is a sign that low pressure is really dropping pressure-wise and overall just getting a lot better. Visible will be kind of hard to look at since it is a little bit more dark in that region, but we can go ahead and try to look at visible. Let's see if we can actually look at visible. Update the plot here, but yeah, visible, you can kind of get a better look at. You see it kind of blacks out, but let's kind of look at let's kind of go back to when the last update before it kind of goes dark, so you kind of see we are seeing some really good banding. There's it looks like that area of low is kind of right here. You can kind of see that area of opening, and that's kind of where we're seeing that main vorticity. But this thing has a lot of good banding, specifically on those eastern quadrants. We have some really good banding, stretching of that cloud toss within these thunderstorms. So overall, this thing's looking really, really good at this point compared to today, and overall It's really going through a pretty early diurnal maximum. It's going through a diurnal maximum at this point, pretty early to see that. But again, they are a few hours ahead considering that it is in the MDR. But I mean, it's going to be very interesting and exciting to see what this looks like tomorrow morning. So here's looking now at the National Hurricane Center first advisory cone on this PTC. So they actually have it being a tropical storm possibly by the I believe that's going to be the 8 a.m. update here. So yeah, this is actually going to be probably by the 8 a.m. update. They do expect this to be a tropical storm. By 2 p.m. Tomorrow, they do have being a tropical storm. So this is definitely going to be Elsa very, very soon here. As you do see at this point, we do have tropical storm watches within the Windward Islands and Lesser Antilles, as it's expected to make landfall within that region as a storm itself. So it's going to be a storm for quite a while. But look how far this cone is. This is definitely a very interesting track, and a track that I've been predicting quite frequently over the past few weeks to see this year. And it looks like it's kind of a Dennis 2005 type track here. So this is definitely our first real type system when you compare it to Anna, Bill, Claudette, and Danny. Those were really kind of just, I mean, you can argue that Claudette was subtropical and Danny was obviously kind of just late minute. So a lot of those four storms were just absolutely nothing. Although Claudette did bring in 14 deaths, sadly, like I did, this is going to be more of a real type season storm where it's going to be going long range and even pose a threat to the Caribbean and as well the U.S. So we're expecting this to be a tropical storm as late as even next Monday. So this is going to carry into next week here, and that's when we're going to be watching out for that threat for the United States. So that's going to obviously just be right after July 4th. So it's going to really be an interesting July 4th for those in the Caribbean. Well, I just realized July 4th isn't even a thing in the Caribbean, so that's, I don't know why they even said that. That was dumb. I forget that. Yeah. This is, you guys never heard that. Never mind. It's going to be a rather old day for the Caribbean because obviously July 4th is only for the United States. So don't just pretend you didn't hear that at all because I don't want people to think I'm dumb. But you can kind of see it's going to be pretty big, a pretty fast-moving storm because the white cone signifies the next 1 to 3 days. So it's going to be all the way up into near Hispaniola within the next 3 days. And then after that, it goes 4 to 5 days. And I'm actually in the cone for portions of, obviously I'm in Miami. So I'm going to be Miami even when this storm gets towards the region. So maybe I can get some footage, but it's expected to affect areas and Windward Islands first. Then affect Hispaniola, maybe affect Cuba and Jamaica. And then make its way into portions of the northern Gulf. The actual wind forecast or maximum wind is expected to be 45 miles an hour by tomorrow afternoon. And then going to make landfall at 50 miles an hour for the Barbados region and Windward Islands. And then get to a peak for 60 miles an hour for a while. From Saturday all the way to Monday, expecting a 60 mile an hour peak. And obviously the National Hurricane Center loves to be conservative. So I do believe this thing won't just be 60 miles an hour. There's definitely a chance it's going to be, it's definitely going to be stronger than that. Let's go ahead and look at the tropical storm watches. So it includes areas like Barbados, just outside Dominica, just south of Antigua. But we do have those watches across much of the Windward Islands and portions of the Southern Antilles. So here's looking at the GEFS guidance tracks for PTC 5. At this point, when this latest update, this is the latest update here on 12C. So this is when it was Invest 97L. But they do have this kind of track going towards the Windward Islands and then making landfall at either Hispaniola or portions of Cuba and then turning to the northwest. So they actually kind of have the main kind of, the mean of all those models kind of like this. But overall, a lot of the majority are siding towards portions of the Gulf of Mexico, not taking it towards an east coast rider. So there's obviously chances could very well go east of Florida instead of west. But the most likelihood, the more reasonable track is that it kind of goes towards Hispaniola, Cuba, and then go for the northeast Gulf, which is a typical storm track we would see in an MDR type year, which is exactly what we're expecting. Let's now go ahead and look at the actual tracks here on Tropical Tidbits. So very similar, except this is when it was actually a PTC. So you can kind of, for those two, I've been kind of looking at the latest track models for today. We are starting to see an eastern trend because a lot of those models yesterday were kind of taking it far into the Gulf of Mexico. But now we have a few trying to creep up to the north, kind of near the Bahamas and even near eastern coast of Florida. So we can't rule out the possibility for even a Keys landfall, Miami landfall, Bahamas landfall. Oh, there's a pretty big cone here for once it passes the Lesser Antilles and Windward Islands. it's very questionable where it's going to go. So we have an idea for the next 2 days. We have an idea. It's going to hit the Lesser Antilles and Windward Islands. But after that, the question is, does it kind of turn northwest, or does it continue into a west-northwest track and then head into the Gulf of Mexico? So we have to really watch out for all of Florida, whether you're in Miami, whether you're in Naples, whether you're in Pensacola or Tallahassee, as well. Really watching out for Cuba. It looks like Cuba is going to definitely get hits no matter what, because if it pulls northwest, it's still going to be hitting the eastern portion. And if it goes like the majority, it's going to be hitting areas like Havana. So it's going to really watch out for Cuba and even portions of Haiti. Models are trending this north at Jamaica. Obviously, Jamaica is kind of really hard to get hit just based on the geography. Puerto Rico should miss out. Maybe Dominican Republic may just miss out, but they will feel effects. But either way, pretty big Caribbean threat still. So let's go and look at the intensity guidance for PTC 5. And boy, they do have these forming within the next, basically less than the next 12 hours. So this thing's looking like it's going to form as early as tomorrow morning. I mean, if this thing were to form tonight at 11 o'clock, I don't know what I'd do if this became Elsa tonight at 11 o'clock. I mean, that would just be absolutely mental. The fact that it's getting so much convection, it's going to be really interesting how it looks tomorrow morning. Obviously, all of the models have this, or computer models have this becoming a tropical storm. And then we have a lot of them getting into a Category 1. So Category 1, like I did say, cannot be ruled out based on the conditions. Ocean heat content, warm SSTs, very little shear, huge moisture bubble, little SAL. I mean, there's really not much you can really say that why it can be Cat 1. So long range, the only limiting factor, like I did say, will be the speed. If the thing was moving at a regular speed, maybe 5 to 10 miles an hour, this thing will definitely be a really big threat. But due to it moving at 21 miles an hour, it can be on ease all over again, where it struggles to form and get its act together, and it stays for a PTC for a while. However, it looks like it's going to be expected to slow down based on the National Hurricane Track, because they do have it getting up to 50 miles an hour before the Windward Islands. Let's now go and get a look at the latest 18Z GFS forecast. So there they have PTC 5 at this point, obviously 1,008 millibars. This is the GFS, like I did say. And boy, the GFS wants to have this thing really strengthened, making landfall for the Windward Islands at 994 millibars in the next 48 hours. And then they want to have it getting up to 986 millibars just to the south of Dominican Republic, and actually has making landfall or kind of just skinning the coast of Haiti at around 992 millibars on July 4th, of course. That's going to be July 4th at the morning hours. And then it actually has it probably making just a very, very close very close call on Jamaica on July 4th, 991 millibars. And then the GFS kind of has it strengthening once again within those warm ocean and heat content waters between Cuba and Mexico at 988 millibars on July 5th. And making landfall on Cuba at around 982 millibars, and then it's going to continue to go to the Gulf of Mexico. The thing is, boy, the GFS wants to have this thing really strengthened in the Gulf of Mexico, getting into around 979 millibars, and then making landfall and going up the east coast here. Oops, I actually clicked something. Alright, I accidentally clicked something I did not want to click on the website. So let's go back now and look at the Canadian model. So Canadian model as well has been trending a little bit towards a more stronger system at 1,006 millibars. So obviously that's not like much compared to the GFS or even the European, but it's progress. They're actually getting it to 1,005 millibars, 1,003 millibars, and then they have it dying out. So although the CMC is not going crazy on strength or even just vorticity or anything really kind of sticking out of tropical depression, although that's the case, CMC is gradually getting into a stronger system every single update, so they are most likely going to catch up with the GFS. Let's not go to the actual GFS though. So it's going to be July 3rd, it's going to be July 4th, so it's going to be really watching out for July 5th for when the storm gets into the Gulf of Mexico water. So by July 5th in the morning hour, it's going to be skinning the Cuban coast and probably make landfall at around 988 millibars off into the Cuba region, and then enter the Gulf of Mexico basically either June 5th or July 6th. Sorry, not June 5th, sorry, July 5th or July... Wait, hold on. July 5th or July 6th. I don't know why I keep saying June. July 5th or July 6th is when we really be watching out for this to enter the Gulf of Mexico. We are going to be really watching out for the Keys, including Key West, Key Largo, even watching out for Naples and Tampa as they are sitting there in the western coast of Florida, because it looks like this will be a Gulf of Mexico type system after it hits Cuba and Hispaniola, making landfall there into the areas near Big Bend or just south of Big Bend at around 982 millibars, and then it goes up into areas like Gainesville, Florida, into the Okefenokee Swamp in Georgia. But boy, I mean, ever since last night, the GFS has been trending to this, getting towards the northeast Gulf of Mexico. At first, they kind of had it going deeper to the Gulf near Louisiana, but now they want to take it towards Florida, and every time they inch it closer and closer and closer to the Keys. So it's going to definitely be very interesting on how this plays out. Let's not go and get a look here at the vorticity forecast. So there's a look at the vorticity for the next few hours. We kind of have a strengthening amount of rotation within the atmosphere as well. We're kind of seeing that really strong counterclockwise flow. Although it's not tropical yet, so it looks like we're not seeing a lot of that counterclockwise flow completely around that low pressure. But it looks like the National is expecting that to happen very soon. A very, very strong rotation, vorticity signature as it goes over the Lesser Antilles, and that'll continue to get larger, more widespread, and just tighter as it continues throughout its track, again, going up into the deep portions of the Gulf of Mexico and hitting portions of Florida. Let's go and get a look here at the actual European vorticity forecast. And for those who have been watching my past videos on this, European has really, really struggled to show vorticity with this, but boy, oh boy, have they gone a lot better showing very tight vorticity. I mean, look at that. They are showing some very tight rotation each update, and each run they get stronger and stronger vorticity. And look at that vorticity for the Lesser Antilles. So now European is starting to pick up on that, but then they kind of have it rapidly going into portions of Hispaniola. And look at the European wants to take this to the Bahamas. So that's definitely something to keep a very, very close eye on, because look, the Europeans taking it a little bit to the northwest, a lot closer and a lot sooner. So that's exactly why we have such a big widespread cone based on all the global models and what the computer models want to have. It's just really very widespread. So let's go look at the 10-meter wind forecast on the GFS. So actually the GFS wants to have this get quite strong. Boy, do they want to get it up to as early as around basically 34 knots as we go into the next few hours, tomorrow early morning, and then as we go later into the next around here 27 hours or so, they want to get up to around 52 knots, which is basically around 60 miles an hour. So already stronger than the National Hurricane Center peak, or already the same as the National Hurricane Center peak. But look at the GFS. They kind of want to have a very strong low with a very strong but not completely close eye wall, getting up to 55 knots, which is basically around just under 65 miles an hour. And then when I'm making landfall at around 71 knots. The GFS wants to have this make landfall on the Lesser Antilles at 71 knots, which is a Category 1 hurricane. I mean, that's just definitely very, very unlikely considering how fast it's moving, limiting a lot of its potential. But boy, the GFS is going absolutely mental on this as it goes later deeper into portions of the Southern Caribbean, Southeastern Caribbean after the landfall. Gets up to 75 knots, which is basically 86, 87 miles an hour. And then you want to get up to 81 knots. So, I mean, GFS wants to show a very intense hurricane. I mean, they may end up showing a Category 2 at some point in the next future runs. Then they kind of have it weakening as it goes over Hispaniola. Has it kind of having a minimal, I guess, wind field as it makes landfall on Cuba. And they have it going crazy once again before hitting portions of Florida here. Let's go back just a few hours. They want to have it up to once again around 85 miles an hour before Florida landfall. I mean, that's just mental. I mean, no model is showing something like that except for the H4, but H4 is going even more crazy. But European and CMC, they're kind of relaxing a little bit on the intensity. But boy, oh boy, I mean, the GFS is going absolutely crazy. I mean, let's actually zoom into the Gulf of Mexico, shall we? I mean, I want to go into the Gulf of Mexico and see the actual winds for this. I mean, look at this thing. This is absolutely mental. I mean, that's 74 knots. I mean, this is just not going to happen whatsoever. Let's actually go A little bit more into the actual Caribbean, look at the Lesser Antilles and see how the Lesser Antilles are getting hit. I mean, Lesser Antilles as well getting hit quite hard with this system. So I mean, look at that, 68 knots. I mean, that's basically a that is a category 1. So I mean, GFS just really wants to show this one to really blow up, which obviously it can't be ruled out. I mean, it's definitely got the conditions for it. Let's not go into the actual moisture. So we are obviously seeing a pretty significant moisture bubble with this low pressure and obviously PTC. So shear to the north and drier to the north because that Bermuda high should not be a problem because this thing's going to be pretty enclosed. So any drier should not rip the storm apart, and as it gets stronger and stronger, low pressure wise, that moisture will continue to expand into the Gulf of Mexico. Moisture wise, it is showing a pretty significant amount of rain getting up. You can kind of see the track of the storm because of the precipitation. That's exactly what the JFS is showing. Getting up to already over a foot of rain expected for portions of Florida, Cuba, and pretty significant rainfall up to maybe looking at, let's see here, maybe 4 to 8 inches of rainfall expected for portions of these southern windward islands. Hispaniola should get a little bit less rain because it's going to kind of stay off the coast of Haiti. And then Cuba going to get over a foot of rain, as well even Florida looking at for some very intense rain.